to read a story. Its title is The Story of the Charming Snake. And this is a story from India. In India, there lived a boy named Bhola. He and his mother and father, poor woodcutters, lived in a hut on the banks of the Brahmaputra river. There was a hard life, but Bhola, an only child, was loved. One terrible day during the monsoon, the river rose and washed the hut away. Bhola's parents drowned, but by some miracle, Bhola survived. Now, penniless and orphaned, Bhola decided to take up his parents' profession, gathering wood in the jungle to sell it in town. He walked for many hours to the edge of a thick forest. As he bent to gather fallen branches, he heard beautiful, unearthly music. Where was it coming from? Suddenly he realized that the music was coming from a cobra that was dangling from a branch, watching him. In terror, but with deep respect, he joined his hands and bowed to the cobra. Cobras are sacred in India and deserve veneration. To Bhola's astonishment, the snake nodded its hooded head in acknowledgement. Bhola heard the sound of cowbells. A herd was passing by. "I yearn to have some milk," said the snake suddenly. Bhola was astonished to hear the snake speaking. "Don't fear me, my boy. I was a woman, a great singer in the royal court in my past. In this life, for some reason, I have been sent to this earth as a snake goddess, Nag Devi. But I do not question Lord Shiva for doing so, because he knows best. I know that you lost your parents, Bhola, but Lord Shiva did that for a purpose too. There was a hard and miserable life. Since they were good in this life, Shiva decided to give them a better life. They have been reborn in other homes where they have all the best comforts of life. You know where they are? Are they all right? Can I see them, Nag Devi?" "I'm afraid that is impossible," she said gently. Bhola began to cry. "But don't be sad," she said. "Your mother and father are newborn twins in a lovely home. If you saw them, you wouldn't recognize them. But they are fine. You don't need to worry about them." "Very well, Nag Devi," said Bhola, hanging his head. He understood that he probably knew best. The sounds of the cowbells reminded Bhola that Nag Devi had asked for milk. He managed to catch a female goat from the herd and got a small cup of her warm, sharp-tasting milk without getting caught by the daydreaming goatherd. "Here, Nag Devi." He put the milk before the snake, who drank it in big gulps. "That tasted so good. It has been a long time since I have had milk," she said. "Nag Devi, may I ask you one thing?" asked Bhola. How come you can talk?" said Bhola. "Well, when I came back to earth as a snake, somehow I stayed myself. Now I have the body of a snake, but the soul, brains, and voice of a woman. I don't know why, but I have learned to live with it." "Aren't you lonely with no family, Nag Devi? It must be hard for you." "Yes, sometimes it is. Why don't you be a family? We can live together. I will have a home and you will have a friend and protector." "But," said Bhola, "I don't have a home or money or food." "I have an idea. Wrap me around your neck. Go to the town, a square like that, and people will gather around. Tell them they are going to see something amazing." Nag Devi said, "I will tell you what to do. In my past, I was not only a singer and musician, but a teacher." Nag Devi was as good as her word. As they walked to town, she taught Bhola what he should say. When the townspeople saw the boy calmly walking along with a deadly snake around his neck, they gathered around excitedly. Bhola slipped the snake from his shoulders to the ground. She rose from the ground almost 5 feet. Her magnificent hood spread and faced Bhola. The spectators expected the cobra to strike him dead on the spot. Instead, Bhola bowed and said, "Namaste, Nag Devi." The snake tipped his head and responded, "Namaste." The audience gasped. The snake said, "Would you dance if I sing?" The snake began to sing the most beautiful song they had ever heard. Bhola danced. The audience was stunned. They threw so many coins that a huge pile rose before Bhola and his snake goddess. The news of the charming snake spread like brush fire. She could not only sing, she could read people's horoscopes and advise them about the right time to travel or get married. People invited her and Bhola to entertain at their weddings. More than once, someone tried to steal the amazing Nag Devi, but one bite from her stopped their greedy dreams. So now, years went by. Bhola was a rich young man now. He and the Nag Devi were inseparable. One day, Maharaja Dayalu Singh, the ruler of this land, heard about the charming snake and ordered his divan, his advisor and confidant, to arrange for the young man and the cobra to perform in his court. The divan brought the two to palace and gave them rooms in the palace guest house. As the day of the performance drew near, a war broke out between this state and neighboring state over a disputed piece of land. The Maharaja personally led the army, never having seen Bhola or Nag Devi. Back at the palace, Bhola and the charming snake were left with nothing to do. They explored the palace, except the women's quarters, which Bhola could not enter. One day, Nag Devi began to sing. Drawn by the sound, the Maharaja's beautiful daughter came out from the women's quarter. When she saw Bhola, she felt as if a bolt of lightning had hit her. When his eyes met hers, he knew that he loved her too. But then she saw the deadly snake. Instantly she flinched and drew back. "Don't fear, sweet princess, I am only a woman in a snake's body," said the snake to the astonished princess. "It is my destiny to pass my present life in this form. In my past life, I was a musician and Jyotishi, a fortune teller, a rare talent for a woman." Her eyes suddenly shining, Princess Sushila asked, "Then can you predict the outcome of the war? I'm very worried about my father and all of us." "Yes, I can," said the snake. "Bring me your parents' horoscope charts." Sushila ordered a servant to get them. Nag Devi studied the horoscopes with intense concentration and declared, "Your Highness, I have good news for you. Not only will your father win the war, but he will defeat this neighboring Raja and annex his state to yours. Yours will become the largest kingdom in India," said Nag Devi. Now from that day forth, the princess, Bhola and Nag Devi became an inseparable trio. With time, the love between Princess and Sushila and Bhola grew. The outcome of the war was just as Nag Devi had predicted. When the Maharaja returned, he held a darbar, a court gathering, where he celebrated his victory and the expansion of his kingdom. Dignitaries came from miles around to attend. Let us have our long-delayed entertainment program." ordered the Maharaja. Bhola Nag Devi entered and bowed low before the throne. Nag Devi sang and Bhola danced. The courtiers were entranced. No matter what they had heard about the charming snake, this was better than they had ever imagined. Her magical voice made all the courtiers weep for lost love or grow hopeful for new. Bhola, outfitted in glittering clothes by the royal tailors, looked so handsome that the princess couldn't take her eyes off him. When their performance came to an end, the Maharaja said, "You two have pleased me immensely. I will grant you each one wish, any wish that is within my power." Bhola spoke first. He said, "Your Majesty, if it would please you, I would Nag Devi to be allowed to become one of your courtiers." "That is most unusual request, but I will be pleased to grant it," said the Maharaja. The Diwan said to Nag Devi, "Now go ahead, state your wish to His Highness." Nag Devi raised her head and gazed into the face of the mighty king. "Your Highness, if it would please you, I would like to ask the hand of the princess for this young man." "How dare you!" the Maharaja shouted. Everyone froze. The Maharaja rose, his face scarlet. "How dare you suggest such a thing? My daughter's marriage to a commoner? Never! Remove these two from my sight." The guards rushed to follow the orders. Before they could get to Bhola and Nag Devi, Princess Sushila threw herself in the path of the guards, her arms outstretched. "These two will be removed only over my dead body." "Your Highness," ventured Nag Devi to the Maharaja, now purple in the face with confusion and rage, "these two young people love each other." "So that's how you pay back my kindness and hospitality to you?" the Maharaja thundered. "While I'm away defending my country, you steal the affections of my only daughter? And you, my daughter, did I raise you to defy and humiliate me before my courtiers and guests? Many worthy princes are begging for your hand. I will choose the worthiest of all and marry you to him. But these two must go. I will never marry you to a commoner." "But dear father, commoner though he may be, I will marry no one but Bhola. I love him," cried Princess Sushila. Take her away from here," wrote the Maharaja once again. Suddenly Nag Devi wrapped her body around Bhola and the princess. "No one touches them until the issue is resolved," she shrieked, so commandingly that the guards dropped back. All the guests froze with shock and wonder. Then, with her body coiled around the princess and the orphan youth, the snake opened its mouth and began a hypnotic magical song that filled the room like a sleeping potion. The whole court began to tremble and the very air seemed to blur. One by one, the dazed courtiers succumbed to a charmed sleep. In their sleep, the courtiers all dream the same dream. They see someone who looks like Bhola, but is wearing a crown and seated on a throne. He is a good, kind, fair king who cares about his people. But one day he makes a terrible mistake. He orders the execution of an innocent man who has been falsely accused of a crime. Though the man protests his innocence to the last minute, Bhola does not relent. His widow and children suffer terribly after the unjust death of their husband and father. Days later, The king falls ill of a mysterious disease. All the doctors try but cannot save his life. As if death were not punishment enough, he is sent to be reborn in the home of woodcutters who die and leave him orphaned, just like the children of the innocent man he had put to death. The singing is stopped. Awaken, thundered Nagdevi, and the magic sleep was broken. The entire court woke up. The Maharaja opened his eyes slowly and said in confusion and awe, I had a strange dream. No, it was not a dream, it was the truth. Bhola was a king in his past life. He has done more than enough penance for his one and only mistake in that life, said Nagdevi. And I was about to make the biggest mistake of my life. I cannot deny the love of these two young people for each other. Now I order that the preparations for the wedding be undertaken, ordered the Maharaja. Kings and princes of all the neighboring lands were invited to the wedding. Bands played everywhere, fireworks lit the sky. The couple looked radiant as they slowly circled the fire to the sound of the priest's chants. As the ceremony ended, Maharaja rose from his throne and announced, I always wanted to, but I had no son. Now I do. I've decided to retire and I appoint Bhola as my successor. He and my daughter will sit on the throne and rule over the kingdom. I wish to spend the rest of my life in prayer and meditation. As the Maharaja stepped down from the raised platform and asked Bhola to sit on the throne, Bhola's eyes shone with awe. He had never dreamed that someday he would rule a kingdom with a beautiful queen at his side. Ah, but I did, said Nagdevi. I knew all along that someday you would be king, but you would not have believed me had I told you. Now to this day, in the humblest huts and the grandest palaces, people still tell stories of the charming snake with a bewitching voice and the woodcutter's son who became a king. Of course, the words change from telling to telling, but the story lives on forever. Thank you.